Welcome to the deep dive. So today, our mission is to unpack a really critical stack of research focusing on CIS Control 10, which is all about malware defenses.
Right. We are looking directly at what it actually takes to, stop a modern cyber attack.
Yeah, exactly. And our main goal for you, listening right now, is to kind of shatter this comforting little illusion that cybersecurity is just about installing a basic antivirus program.
Right. Like you just turn on automatic scans and call it a day.
Totally. We're going to explore the hidden mechanisms of how these threats actually move through a system and how you can actually stop them.
It's a lot more complex than people think.
It really is. But to really understand why this matters, I want you to imagine this scenario. It's a totally normal Tuesday morning.
Okay, set in the scene.
Yeah, an employee is just sitting at their desk, sipping their coffee, and they get what looks like a completely routine Microsoft 365 email. So they click the link,
And then,
and then absolutely nothing happens. There's no flashing skull and crossbones on the screen. There's no scary pop-up demanding a ransom or anything.
right, the computer just keeps working totally normally.
Exactly. It's wild.
It is the ultimate silent disaster.
Yeah.
Because while that employee is just going about their morning, checking their next email or opening a spreadsheet, a malicious payload has quietly executed in the background.
Just silently running.
Silently running. It's already scraping the computer's memory for saved passwords. It's actively capturing session cookies from the web browser.
Wow.
And it's establishing this silent, encrypted connection to an attacker who is sitting, halfway across the world.
And it just sits there, like completely invisible. I mean, from the research, it might sit there for weeks, quietly mapping out the company's entire network.
Yeah, just doing recon.
Right, until the attacker finally decides to, pull the trigger and deploy the ransomware overnight.
And by the next morning, it is absolute chaos. Every shared drive is encrypted. Customer files are locked.
Payroll is completely unavailable. I mean, operations have just totally stopped.
Exactly. And when a disaster like that hits, the very first question everyone in the boardroom asks is, how did this happen?
Which makes sense, right?
It does, but if you really understand the mechanics in network defense, a much better question is, why didn't anything stop it?
Oh, that's a great point.
There is this core irony to CIS Control 10. We have this tendency to think that malware defense is the entirety of cybersecurity.
Right, like if you have an antivirus, you're playing the game.
Exactly. But the reality is that malware protection on a laptop or a server is actually your last line of defense.
It's the safety net.
It's the safety net that only gets tested when all your other security controls, I'm talking firewalls, email filters, user training, have already completely failed.
The attacker is literally already inside the house at that point.
Precisely.
So to really understand why this last line of defense fails so often, we have to look at what we're actually defending against today, because we are so far beyond the basic computer viruses of the 1990s,
Oh, yeah. The ones that used to just delete your hard drive for fun.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this, because the modern variants of malware detailed in the sources are highly sophisticated businesses.
They really are an industry now.
Yeah, we're talking about credential stealers, for example. These are designed specifically to quietly siphon off not just your passwords, but your multi-factor authentication tokens,
Ooh.
or even your session cookies.
Let's actually expand on why session cookies are so incredibly valuable.
Yeah, please do.
So when you log into your email, right, and you do your two-factor authentication on your phone.
Getting the little text message code.
Right, exactly. The browser then creates a tiny file, which is a cookie, that essentially says, hey, this user has already proven who they are. Don't ask them for a password again for the next 30 days.
Okay, that makes sense. It's for convenience.
Exactly. But credential stealers grab that specific cookie and send it directly to the attacker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the attacker injects that cookie into their own browser. Suddenly, they're logged in as you. They bypass your password and your multi-factor authentication entirely, and you never even know it.
That is genuinely terrifying. And then, the research also talks about remote access trojans, or RITs.
Ah, yes, the RITs.
These give an attacker complete invisible control over a computer. Like, they aren't just stealing data. They can literally move your mouse around. They can open your files.
And they can even silently turn on your webcam and listen through your microphone.
Wait, without the little green light ever turning on?
Often, yes,
No.
without any indicator at all. What's fascinating here is how these tools represent a massive shift in attacker psychology.
How so?
Well, they aren't looking for quick destruction anymore. They are looking for persistence. They want to set up this observation post inside your machine and just monitor your daily activities.
Right, to find the most lucrative path forward.
Exactly.
You know, the one that really caught my eye in our research, though, is fileless malware.
That is a big one.
Because when we think of malware, I think we all just assume it's a bad file being downloaded to the hard drive, right? Like some executable file called virus.x.
Right, that's the classic mental model.
But fileless malware operates completely differently. Think of it like a home intruder who finds an unlocked door, slips inside, but they don't bring any of their own lockpicks or weapons or anything.
I like this analogy.
Instead, they just use the knives that are already sitting in your kitchen block. They do their damage, but they never actually install a single new file on your hard drive.
None at all.
Right. The entire attack lives purely in the active temporary memory of the computer.
Which is absolutely brilliant from an attacker's perspective. Because traditional antivirus software is completely blind to that specific tactic.
Because it's not looking in the active memory.
Exactly. Traditional antivirus is fundamentally a file scanner. It looks at the hard drive, it scans the files sitting there, and checks them against a list of known threats.
So if there's no file written to the hard drive?
The scanner sees absolutely no threat. It thinks everything is perfectly fine. Furthermore, because fileless malware only exists in the active RAM, which is the temporary memory, the moment you reboot the computer, the malware literally vanishes.
Wait, it just disappears.
It leaves absolutely no physical fingerprints behind for incident investigators to find.
That is wild. So if these modern threats are this stealthy and they don't even need to install files to ruin your day, how are they even bypassing the perimeter in the first place?
Well, it almost always comes down to someone on the inside opening the door.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the delivery mechanisms and the sources can be so incredibly mundane. It's not always this high-tech, cinematic hacking sequence with green text raining down the screen.
Not at all.
Sometimes it's literally just a drive-by download.
Drive-by downloads are a perfect example of how the modern web has completely changed. In the past, you had to actively click a button that said download to get infected.
Right, you had to make a bad choice.
Exactly. But today, modern websites are running dozens of background scripts just to display ads or, track analytics.
Okay.
If an attacker compromises one of those background scripts on a totally legitimate website, simply navigating to that web page is enough to infect your machine.
Wait, I'm stuck on that. Are you telling me I don't even have to click a bad link?
That's right.
Just visiting a normal-looking website can trigger an infection.
If your web browser or your operating system isn't fully patched and updated, absolutely, your browser processes the malicious script in the background, it exploits a vulnerability, and downloads the malware without you ever clicking a single thing.
That's why every IT person is always yelling about keeping software updated.
Exactly. It's a foundational security control. But attackers don't just rely on invisible background scripts. They also rely on basic human psychology.
Right, like phishing.
Yeah, they create fake login pages that look identical to your bank. Or they offer a free PDF reader online that actually has a Trojan hidden inside it.
So let me push back on this for a second, because I know what you, the listener, might be thinking right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
We all think we're far too smart to fall for this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I know better than to download a sketchy, free PDF tool from a random website. But the research mentions physical tricks, too, like a USB drive just casually left in a company parking lot or handed out as free swag at an industry conference.
Oh, the classic USB drop.
Yeah, I have to ask, with all the mandatory cybersecurity awareness training every company forces us to do, who is actually plugging in a random flash drive they found on the ground in 2026?
Honestly, you would be shocked.
Really? People still do it.
Oh, constantly. It comes down to fundamental human traits, curiosity and a desire to be helpful.
Helpful? How is that helpful?
Well, imagine you find a high-quality metal flash drive in the company parking lot. An ad has the word confidential, Q3 layoffs, written on a piece of masking tape on the side.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that is tempting.
Human curiosity is incredibly powerful. People will plug it in just to see what it is, or they convince themselves they're doing the right thing by trying to find the owner. And attackers know this.
So they basically weaponize our own curiosity against us.
They absolutely do. And they exploit trust even further through supply chain attacks.
Right, the sources spent a lot of time on that.
Because it's perhaps the most dangerous delivery mechanism of all. This is when an attacker compromises a vendor that you already do business with.
Like a software vendor.
Exactly. Imagine a software company that provides the accounting software your business uses every single day. If an attacker hacks that vendor, they can hide their malware inside the vendor's official software update.
So when my computer prompts me to install a required update for my accounting tool, which, my IT department told me to always do,
Right.
I'm actually installing the malware myself.
Exactly. You are trusting the vendor is compromised, and the malware rides right in on a trusted channel.
That is brutal.
And this is the exact reason why CIS Control 10 is so uncompromising. It requires anti-malware protection on every single endpoint,
Every laptop, desktop server, everything.
every operating system in the building.
Yeah.
Because you have to assume the malware will eventually make it past your perimeter firewall, whether that's through a drive-by download, human curiosity, or a compromised vendor.
So, assuming the door gets opened, the attacker is inside the house. How does the attack actually unfold once they're in?
Well, let's talk about ransomware, because that is the nightmare scenario for literally any business.
Definitely. And the crucial point from the sources here is that ransomware is not a single event. It's not a lightning strike.
No, not at all.
It is a methodical, multi-step process.
It is a life cycle, a highly structured operation. A typical ransomware attack breaks down into 6 specific stages.
Okay, walk us through them.
Stage 1 is initial access, which we just discussed, getting a foot in the door through phishing or a drive-by download.
Got it.
Stage 2 is credential theft. The attacker is now inside, but they usually only have the permissions of the regular employee who clicked the link.
Which usually isn't enough to take down a whole company.
Exactly. They need better access, so they start scraping the machine's memory for other passwords. Which brings us to stage 3, privilege escalation.
Let's pause on privilege escalation for a second. For anyone who isn't a sysadmin, what does that actually mean in practice?
It basically means upgrading your access from a standard user to an administrator.
Okay.
A standard user can open Word documents and browse the web, right?
Yeah.
But an administrator can change system settings, they can turn off antivirus software, and access restricted servers.
So they really want that admin access.
They need it. Attackers will hunt through the system looking for leftover administrator tokens.
What does that look like?
Say an IT person logged into that employee's laptop a week ago to fix a broken printer. Their admin credentials might still be lingering in the system's memory.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting there. The attacker finds them, steals them, and suddenly they have the keys to the kingdom.
Which leads right into stage 4, which is lateral movement.
Exactly.
Now that they have the admin keys, they silently spread from that one infected laptop to the servers, the backups, and other employee machines.
It's all about spreading out.
Right. And then stage 5 is data theft. And finally, stage 6 is the encryption phase, where they lock all the files and operations, just violently stop.
That's the end of the line.
I want to use an analogy here because it really helps visualize this 6-step process. Think of this like a highly coordinated bank heist, right?
Okay, I like where this is going.
The thieves don't just kick in the front door and immediately blow up the vault. That would be the encryption phase, stage 6.
Right. If they did that on day 1, the alarms would go off instantly
Right.
and the police would surround the building.
Exactly. So instead, they walk in during normal business hours dressed as regular customers. That's initial access.
Nice and quiet.
While they're inside, they pickpocket a security guard's ID badge, so that's credential theft. They use that badge to sneak into the manager's office and find the master keys in the desk drawer. That's privilege escalation.
And then they begin their lateral movement.
Right. Lateral movement isn't just locking doors, it's using those master keys to secretly tunnel into the VIP deposit rooms, mapping out where all the most valuable assets are kept.
Surveying the prize.
Yeah. Then they silently empty all the safety deposit boxes into their duffel bags and toss them out the back window. That's the data theft phase.
Right.
And only then, on their way out the front door weeks later, do they detonate the vault. By the time you hear the explosion, the heist has already been happening right under your nose.
We connect this to the bigger picture. That data theft stage, emptying the safety deposit boxes, is absolutely crucial to understand.
Why is that step so important?
Because modern attackers almost always steal your sensitive data before they ever encrypt a single file. This is a tactic called double extortion.
Double extortion.
Yeah. They encrypt your files so you can't run your business, and they demand a ransom for the decryption key. But if you say, no thanks, we have backups, we'll just restore our systems, they drop the second threat.
Which is?
If you don't pay us, we are going to publish all of your customers' private data, your internal emails, and your financial records on the public internet.
Oh, man. So even if your backups are flawless, you still have a massive crisis on your hands.
Precisely. It's a PR nightmare and a regulatory nightmare. But the silver lining of this 6-step process is that defenders have multiple opportunities to stop the heist.
Because it takes time.
Exactly. Modern endpoint protection isn't just waiting for the vault to explode.
Mm.
It is specifically designed to interrupt the attack during stages 1 through 5, long before that final devastating encryption phase ever begins.
So how does the system actually catch them before they reach the vault? Especially when we talked about fileless malware earlier or threats that are entirely brand new.
Right, the unseen threat.
Because traditional antivirus relied on signatures, right? For you listening, a signature is basically a digital mugshot of a known piece of malware.
That's a good way to put it.
If the antivirus scans a file, sees a mugshot it recognizes in its database, it blocks it. But how on earth can a system stop a brand new unseen threat if it doesn't have a mugshot on file?
That is the pivotal shift in modern defense strategy. We have moved from signature-based detection to behavioral analysis.
Okay, yeah.
Even if a piece of malware is completely new, completely fileless, and has no digital mugshot,
Yeah.
its behavior will eventually betray it.
Give me a concrete example of that. What does suspicious behavior look like to a computer?
Think about the normal behavior of the applications you use every single day. It is completely normal for a user to open Microsoft Word, type out a document, and save it. That's expected behavior.
Right.
But it's highly suspicious behavior if that Word document suddenly spawns a command prompt window.
And command prompt is essentially the text-based interface used by IT professionals to give deep architectural commands to the operating system, right?
Exactly. A text document should never, ever need to talk to the core operating system like that.
That makes total sense.
Or imagine an Excel spreadsheet that suddenly attempts to download a hidden executable file from a server in a foreign country.
Yeah, accountants aren't usually doing that.
Exactly. Or a background process that unexpectedly starts deleting thousands of files per second. The security software doesn't need to know the name of the malware, and it doesn't need a mugshot.
It just sees the bad action.
Right. It just needs to recognize that Microsoft Excel has absolutely no business acting like a network administrator. When it sees that behavior, it kills the process instantly.
So what does this all mean for a normal business? We've talked about real-time behavioral analysis, but that sounds incredibly complex. Are there simpler ways to restrict what can run on a computer?
There are, and it requires changing the default rules of engagement. One of the most powerful foundational strategies for malware defense is called application allow listing.
Allow listing. How does that differ from traditional antivirus?
Traditional antivirus operates on a block list mentality. It tries to maintain a list of the infinite number of bad programs in the world, and it blocks anything on that list.
Which seems impossible.
It is a losing battle because attackers create millions of new malware variants every single day. Application allow listing flips that logic totally upside down.
Okay.
It operates on a zero trust model. You simply deny everything by default except for a specific pre-approved list of software. If a program isn't on the approved list, even if it's perfectly safe, benign software, it simply cannot run.
Wait, hold on. Allow listing sounds amazing in theory, but let's be real about how businesses actually function. If I'm an employee and I need to download a new calculator app or a file converter or a specialized PDF tool for a big project and I get blocked, my productivity grinds to a halt.
It does.
I have to submit an IT ticket and wait 3 days for approval. Isn't that exact friction the reason why businesses absolutely hate allow listing and refuse to turn it on?
This raises an important question, and it's a very, very common pushback. Historically, you are right. Manual allow listing was a total nightmare for productivity.
It sounds like it.
But modern allow listing is much more dynamic. You don't have to manually approve every single calculator app.
Oh, really?
Instead, you can allow a list by trusted publisher saying, allow any software digitally signed by Microsoft or Adobe to run automatically.
Oh, okay. That's a lot easier.
Or you can allow this by directory, meaning only allow programs to run if they're installed in the official program files folder, which requires administrator rights to access anyway.
That makes a lot of sense.
It significantly reduces the friction while still stopping a random piece of malware trying to run from a user's temporary downloads folder.
That's a great way to handle it. It's like having a VIP list at a club, but instead of checking every individual name, the bouncer just lets anyone in who is wearing a specific VIC wristband.
That's a perfect way to look at it. But even with allow listing, organizations still have to lock down the legitimate tools that are already inside the building.
Because they can be weaponized.
Because, exactly as we discussed with fileless malware, attackers love to use the tools you already have installed against you. The research specifically highlights restricting the use of tools like PowerShell, disabling VD-script, and turning off Office macros by default.
Explain PowerShell for us. Why is it so dangerous if it's just a built-in Windows tool?
PowerShell is an incredibly powerful administrative Swiss Army knife built right into Windows. IT teams use it all the time to automate tasks and manage configurations across thousands of computers at once.
So it's very useful.
Very useful.
Yeah.
But if an attacker gets access to PowerShell, they can use it to turn off your security software, create new administrative accounts for themselves, and pull passwords directly out of the computer's memory.
Yikes.
If you don't restrict who can use PowerShell, you are essentially leaving loaded weapons lying around on the desks for the attacker to just pick up and use during that privilege escalation phase.
Oh. This brings us to a really crucial realization in this deep dive, I think.
What's that?
We've established that the software sitting on the endpoints has to be behavioral, it has to be restrictive, and it has to be on every machine. But the sources make it explicitly clear that Control 10 malware defenses cannot survive in a vacuum.
No, it absolutely cannot.
It requires an entire ecosystem of technical controls to actually work.
Absolutely, because, as we noted earlier, email remains the single biggest entry point for malware. Good endpoint protection on the laptop is essential, but it has to be part of a larger web of defenses. You need tools like sandbox analysis.
Which is like a digital bomb squad room, right?
Exactly. When an email comes in with an attachment, before it ever reaches your inbox, the security system opens that attachment inside a secure, isolated sandbox environment just to see what it does.
To see if it behaves badly.
Right. If the attachment tries to encrypt files in the sandbox, the system destroys it, and you never even see the email. You also need protocols like DRC, SPF, and DKIM.
Okay, alphabet soup. Break those down for us.
Think of SPF and DKIM like a complex digital wax seal on an envelope.
Okay.
When an email arrives claiming to be from the CEO of your company, these protocols check the digital wax seal to prove that the email actually originated from your company's official mail servers.
And not from an attacker who's just spoofing the CEO's address.
Exactly.
It's all connected. You really can't just buy a firewall and call it a day.
You really can't. In fact, if you look at how Control 10 relies on the other CIS controls, the dependencies are obvious. You cannot deploy anti-malware to protect devices if you don't even know they exist.
Right, which is Control 1, hardware inventory.
Exactly. You can't stop malware if you have unpatched software acting as a wide-open window. That's Control 7, vulnerability management.
Makes sense.
And if you restrict user privileges, Control 6, you drastically limit how far the malware can spread if it does manage to get a foothold.
Everything ties together. But let me jump in and challenge this for a minute.
Sure, go through it.
We've spent this entire time talking about incredible technology, real-time scanning, behavioral analysis, sandboxes, digital wax seals, allow listing, all of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of tech.
But at the end of the day, doesn't this all eventually come right back down to the human being sitting at the keyboard? Like if I have all this tech, but my employee clicks ignore warning on a pop-up, the whole house of cards falls down, doesn't it?
It does. The technology is there to reduce the noise and catch the invisible threats, but your ecosystem of defense completely collapses if the humans aren't operating within it correctly.
So training is still mandatory.
Absolutely. Users have to be trained never to disable their antivirus, even if they think it's slowing down a heavy Excel spreadsheet.
We've all been tempted.
We have. But they also need to know how to actively report suspicious emails rather than just deleting them so the security team can block that center for everyone else in the company.
And what about when the worst happens? What if the ransomware screen actually appears?
The instruction there is very, very clear. Disconnect the machine from the network immediately and call IT.
Like physically disconnect?
Yes. Pull the Ethernet cable out of the wall, turn off the Wi-Fi, because minutes matter. If you wait an hour to report it because you're embarrassed you clicked a bad link, that lateral movement phase we talked about will completely destroy the rest of the network.
So speed is everything.
Speed is everything. A modern cybersecurity assessment goes so far beyond the surface level now. It doesn't just ask, do you have an antivirus installed? It asks if you have the capability to quickly and automatically isolate an infected device the moment a behavioral red flag goes up.
Right, stopping it before the damage spreads.
Exactly.
It's really about resilience, not just prevention. So, bringing this all together for you, the listener, we've gone on quite a journey today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We've seen how the threat landscape has evolved far beyond the noisy, disruptive viruses of the 90s. Today's threats are silent, they are highly targeted, and they rely on behavior and memory rather than recognizable files.
And your defenses have to evolve with them.
Exactly. Effective malware protection isn't a piece of software you buy. It's an interconnected web of prevention, detection, containment, and rapid response, all working seamlessly together.
When those layers are properly configured and your human firewall is trained, a single wrong click by an employee doesn't have to become a company-wide crisis.
It just becomes an isolated incident that was caught and contained rather than a catastrophe that makes the evening news.
That's the goal.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on this entire premise that malware protection is truly the last line of defense. Think back to that silent click we talked about at the very beginning of the deep dive. No pop-ups, no warnings, just invisible code running purely in the computer's memory. Here is the question you need to ask yourself about your own organization's setup today. If your entire continuity, your entire survival as a business relies solely on your endpoint software successfully catching a brand new, entirely fileless attack operating invisibly in memory, are you actually secure or have you just been getting incredibly lucky?